Good afternoon, everyone. I'm originally from the Chicago area, but I've been working with Mark Gooden for several years, and so he's from Georgia. And that means when I say good afternoon, you've got to say good afternoon. So good afternoon. Thank you. I'm teaching people to do that in Washington. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the UCEA 2012 Awards Luncheon. The UCEA Awards focus on the scholarship, research, student development, and improvement of the educational leadership preparation and practice for our field. We get to spend some time today talking about our colleagues and giving them some recognition for all of the hard work that they do. You are to feel free to go ahead and continue eating as we begin our awards program today. I'm Ann O'Doherty. I'm the director of the Danforth Educational Leadership Program at the University of Washington, and I'll be your MC today. One of the truly great things about this awards luncheon is to gather together with all of us to take a little bit of time out of our busy lives and pause at the opening of this incredible conference to recognize our colleagues for the work that they've contributed. What I'm going to be doing today is giving you a little bit of information about each award and inviting the presenter to come up and speak to us about their colleague that is receiving that award. Presenters, we're asking that you spend up to 5 minutes to talk about that colleague. Then we'll bring your colleague on up as well and have that colleague have about 3 minutes to share with us their acceptance remarks. I'm going to be relying on all of us. I know the time constraints, are not always comfortable, but we want to make sure that we give each of our recipients a meaningful and honored time today. One of the things I thought I would share, though, is I know from going through even the list of people who are presenting today that of the awards that, could we go back just one slide for a second? Of the awards that are listed up here on the board, that we have more people in the room who've already received this award in years past. So I'm going to invite you, if you have ever been the recipient of any of these awards in past UCEA luncheons, would you please stand for a moment so we can recognize you? Thank you for helping us carry on a long tradition of recognizing our colleagues in the field. So our first award is the Campbell Lifetime Achievement Award, and this was instituted in UCEA in 1992. It celebrates the remarkable pioneering life of Roald Campbell, whose distinguished career spanned many years, and he exemplified the characteristics that we honor in this award. It's for senior professors in the field of educational administration whose professional lives have been characterized by extraordinary commitment, excellence, leadership, generosity, and service. Presenting the award today is Karen Seashore.
It is such an honor to be able to talk about my friend and colleague, Ken Leithwood. I have a couple things I'd like to say. First, I told him that I would not sing O Canada in French, and he concurred that that was a good idea. A second thing is I know that he's lied to me for many, many years because he told me that he was only 2 years older than I am, but it turns out that he's 2.5 years older than I am. I don't list the date of my birth on my vita, but I have read his. And I didn't know until I got his vita that his middle name was Arthur. So with that said, Ken is not able to be with us today. He's actually retired now, and he could not make it to UCEA this year. But there are a couple of points I'd like to make about Ken, and I will stick to the time framework. The first is that he is, I believe, the first international recipient of the Campbell Award. And I think this is exactly the right time to do that because UCEA is now embarking on much more concerted efforts to engage people from around the world in our work with the summit on Sunday and with an increasing number of international attendees. Ken, of course, is not the furthest flown person, but he is unquestionably Canadian in his perspective and, as you'll see as I go on, in much of his research. I'm going to start out. Ken, you would not believe the number of letters that came in accompanying the nomination for Ken for this award, which was formally made by Phil Hallinger, a longtime colleague. And I think I'd like to start with something that our friend Kent Peterson wrote about him, because Kent, of course, has been around the block a couple of times too. So this is what Kent said, or one of the many things he said about this. Though I've known Ken for over 25 years as a colleague, I've known his work even longer. As a new professor, his early work on school leadership represented to me the best and most comprehensive, research-based, theoretically driven scholarship I had seen. When just starting my career, his work provided both the foundation for some of my own thinking, but perhaps more importantly, a high standard to achieve. Well, Ken certainly has not, in the 25 intervening years, let anything settle underneath his feet. He has published, catch this folks, 33 books, over 100 articles, and of course many, many chapters. His productivity as a scholar is unquestionably one of the highest in our field, but I really wish to emphasize that it's not just the quantity of his work, but his influence that's most important. As Kent pointed out, I doubt that there's a person who's going through any of our doctoral programs who is not familiar with the work of Ken Leithwood at some point. Again, I'd like to I'd like to quote Diana Pounder, another person who's been around the block a couple of times, who said about Ken, Professor Leithwood is an internationally recognized for his scholarly work on transformational leadership, leaders' expert knowledge development, school district leadership, and other areas of study specific to educational leadership. Perhaps among his greatest contributions to knowledge and educational leadership is his recent work linking leadership to student learning, and which, of course, I collaborated with Ken on that work. And I would like to say that, as Diana points out, it's not just one line of work and one way of thinking about the issues that are related to educational leadership that really sets Ken's work apart. He has actually created multiple lines of leadership where he has opened up new areas of inquiry. Certainly the work he did 20 years ago on expert decision making was something nobody'd written about in educational leadership, or at least not in an empirical work. And his work linking leadership behaviors, and in particular transformational leadership to student learning and teachers' engagement, again opened up an area that really changed the way in which we look at effective schools and effective schooling. So he has had a dramatic impact on many research areas in our field. But I think more importantly than that, we can certainly say that he's among, if not the top scholar who looks at educational leaders per se, but he's also had such enormous impact outside of the United States. And I'm not just talking about our neighbors to the north. Ken has been involved in international collaborations for at least 20 years. He has started research projects with people in not only the other English-speaking countries, but also in Scandinavia, and he's worked also in the Far East in collaborative research projects. So the number of people who wrote in support of his nomination from countries around the world is really quite astonishing. So that's very critical. One of the things, though, that the Campbell Award recognizes is not just the scholarship. It's the well-rounded nature of a person's scholarly career in the field. And I know that Ken is probably one of the best mentors that the University of Toronto ever had in its doctoral program. He has always been very generous. I've observed this with his students, with co-authorships, providing them with opportunities to work on his research projects, taking them, dragging them out into the field to do professional development, and launching them into very successful careers. He's been notable in his generosity in that regard, and really it stood out as one of his major characteristics as a teaching faculty member. But also one of the things you probably don't know about Ken is that he started off as a professional developer. Canada, unlike the United States, or at least Ontario, had regional or local education agencies that were linked to the universities, and faculty members actually worked in those field offices. Michael Fullen did it, Ken Leithwood did it, Steve Anderson did it, so it was a common thing for professors to spend time out in the field offices working with school administrators as they started off in their careers. And this has been particularly important for Ken because it gave him a grounding, even though he's never been an administrator, it gave him a grounding in the practical issues facing the daily work of school administrators that has never left him. If you look at the number of presentations and collaborations around professional development for administrators, both in Canada and in other countries, it's quite astonishing. I've seen him present to practitioners. He is probably a little less Sturm und Drang than some of the people who are most sought after, but he really causes people who are in the room to think, to grapple deeply with problems. I would say he's one of the best professional developers I've worked with personally on a side basis. So I would say that, if you think of teaching, research, and service, Ken was exemplary in all three of those areas. Plus, he's just a really, really wonderful person. I have to say, again, he is a typical Canadian. I'm going to read you what he wrote for me to say here. And I wrote back to him and I said, that's really Canadian. It's so humble, it barely acknowledges that you did anything important with your life. And he wrote back and he said, yeah. Or eh? Now I lost it. Where did it go? Oh, it doesn't like, oh, there we go. So these are Ken's words I'm reading to you. He says, more than any other organization, I consider UCEA an association of my scholarly peers. It has always helped to define our standards of work, to identify the most productive problems for our research, and to advocate for what we believe. And come here again, please. To advocate for what well, it doesn't like me to log in. I'm going to have to do this some other way. Can I save it as something else? All right, I'll do my best. To advocate for what we believe to be in the best interests of schools and their children everywhere. So for me, this is the most satisfying possible recognition of my work. Since this is an award for work that is accumulated over a career, a couple of brief personal reflections on what it has been like to do that work seem admissible. It has been extremely satisfying, in no small measure, because of the autonomy that we are afforded as faculty members in institutions of higher education. It has and continues to be intellectually very demanding, partly due to my own emerging sense of what good work consists of. And we're doing this again. And partly because our field has continuously raised the bar on how good the work in our field has to be in order to be judged well, and partly because of the impressive capabilities of our colleagues I've had the good fortune to work with. So as usual, he's being generous. There are no laurels to rest on, and this is a very good thing. Finally, ours is an applied field, and I've had significant opportunities to influence policy and practice, opportunities not visible to UCEA or most of my scholarly colleagues, but opportunities that I now value above all. I expect many of us at this career stage find such opportunities especially rewarding. My own experience is that a history of respectable scholarship allows us to seize those opportunities in especially productive ways. This award is very much appreciated. So it is with pleasure that I accept this in lieu of Ken's being here. It looks like rolled Campbell. It does. Is it over there? But it's not? Okay, here.
And Karen, I think you're taking my notes.
Are those your notes?
It's okay, I have redundancy. So, actually, lots of redundancy. So, all right. The next award is for the Master Professor, and this is given to a faculty member who has a very distinguished record. As an outstanding teacher, that's the first criteria, is that they be an outstanding teacher, and that they also have a significant record of scholarship, and that they be an outstanding advisor. And in particular, I want to note this, that it's evidence that they've mentored and worked with students, and it's evidenced by mentoring students in research projects that address the needs of K-12 educational systems. Further, it's someone who's played a key role in advancing students into the pre-K-12 educational system. So as much as they might be working with people in the higher education field, that they're also working very, very closely with practitioners. Today, to tell us about our honoree for the UCEA Master Professor Award, I invite Mariela Rodriguez.
Thank you. I know. Sorry, it means a lot to me. So, I still remember the first day I met Malou. It was doctoral student orientation at New Mexico State University. It was our first day. We'd just gone through a full round of, this is how you'll survive the doctoral program. Do this, don't do that. And they're like, and remember, at the end of the day, you're going to meet the department chair, so be on your best behavior. So, of course, at the end of the day, in walks the department chair, Malou Gonzalez. And so she obviously also gave us tips on how to survive, how to do good things. And this is what I remember most. She read to us Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. And at the end, when Dr. Seuss writes about the names of the children in that village and such, she substituted those names for those of us present there. And of course, it ended with, today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. And so I always found that a heartfelt approach to be the way that Malou not only dedicated herself to her students, but also to all of those with whom she came into contact. Malou has not only been an outstanding teacher and scholar, and of course with her service, but she has amassed not only scholarship and research, but has amassed over $7 million in grants. And specifically, these grants have been targeted towards principal preparation programs that are looking at having principals who will be effective in serving the needs of culturally and linguistically diverse students. And so that work continues to fulfill contexts not only in the state of New Mexico, the state of Texas, but nationwide. And also, Malou's work with UCEA is extensive. She was one of the first Latinas to serve as president of UCEA, and I had never been more proud. And many of you were present there that day. And it was evident, of course, if you recall, from her presidential address, that she gave to us a challenge, that we steer away from the status quo in higher education, and that we endeavor in new initiatives and trajectories that would move our practice forward. Also at UCEA, Malou has been a founding member of the Barbara Jackson Scholars and continues to serve in mentorship positions in that endeavor. She's also served as a David Clark Scholar Mentor, and of course is currently serving on the executive committee. And her service continues to have its positive repercussions. Most recently, Malou is the Dow Yetter Professor and Assistant to the Dean for Special Projects in the College of Education at the University of Texas at El Paso. Prior to that, of course, in the life where I knew her, she was the Academic Department Head for the Educational Leadership Department at New Mexico State University. In addition to this, she was Director of the Borderlands and Indigenous Initiatives for the Development of Education, and Director of the Center for Border and Indigenous Educational Leadership. When I sent out the call to colleagues, former students, and faculty members that she's worked with to bring letters of support forward for this nomination, the numbers were in the double digits. And it was the sense that each of these letters spoke not only to her professional practice, but again, that heartfelt emotion that I began with that story about how I had first met her. Her dean, Dr. Josie Tinajero, commented on the effective work Malou had done with the faculty at UTEP, the sense of how she was a mentor for these junior faculty, and how her commitment and dedication were stellar. Former students talked about how we wouldn't be where they were if it hadn't been for Malou's support, her encouragement, and her dedication to their success. Faculty members that she mentored, both at New Mexico State and at UTEP, also commented on the sense that without Malou's role modeling of what it was to be an effective scholar, and the time that she dedicated to them in helping them prepare their portfolios, they too would not have seen such success. And I am certainly, of course, not the only one who has benefited both professionally and personally from Malou's mentorship. She has obviously mentored those students who are now practitioners in the K-12 field, and of course, educational leadership scholars. So I thank, of course, all those here present who submitted letters of support for this nomination, and in the sense that each of their letters then demonstrated and was a testament to the characteristics of this award that Malou demonstrates on a daily basis. For your love and dedication, I thank you.
She won't give it to me if I go over the 3 minutes. Mari, thank you very much. I think you got the wrong advisor there, but thank you for your beautiful words. It's tough when you're in this profession and the people that call you mentor or advisor are really the people who mentor you and give you advice. But in receiving this, I'd like to thank Michelle Young, members of the Master Professor Selection Committee, all of my friends and colleagues who are UCA related. I'm very happy to be here today to receive this award. This convention marks my 23rd attendance at UCA. My first UCA convention was very different. It was held during a time when I was only one of 3 Latinas and 1 Latino, Pedro Reyes, who attended the convention. There were no more than 5 African American colleagues who were also here. There weren't any open LGBT scholars, and our leadership research was basically devoid of any issues of race, ethnicity, LGBT, linguistic differences, and it was simply because these issues were not considered credible, relevant, or rigorous enough. So now we have a lot to celebrate we are starting to look like the real face of the United States of America. I feel honored, I'm humbled. I come from a culture where we're always grateful to other people, and I'll mention a few, but there are a lot more that I need to talk about. I'm a simple professor. I went into the professorate because I felt I would have more impact. I loved the world of K-12, but after a while decided that it would be incredible to become a teacher and a professor. Many of you here are deserving of this honor, and I probably know every single person who's received the Master Professor Award to date. So again, that's another humbling experience. I also accept the award in the name of the professors of ed leadership who believe as I do, that we are not only about preaching and writing about social justice, but as professors of educational leadership, we are called to a higher purpose. A calling that demands that we practice social justice in our personal and academic lives as well. I also accept this prize with profound gratitude on behalf of those who struggled for many years and continue to struggle to instill and ensure that social justice is a reality in our field and in our organization. We were late in its development, but it's finally here. We are encompassing social justice as our agenda, as our program will demonstrate. However, simply listing social justice in our program, in our UCA program, and in our publications does not guarantee that we will remain true to its principles. We must be vigilant that we do not regress to where we were at 23 years ago and before that time. A particular note, and on a personal level, I'd like to thank my mother, who never completed her high school education, and she's probably had the most impact on my life. She's currently 93 years old and can discuss any political topic and has been reading about leadership since I started in the profession. I've learned from her more from her example because social justice was a non-negotiable in our house in the barrio of Cuauhtemoc in Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. I would remain remiss if I also didn't bring in my husband of 25 years, Dr. Keith McNeil, with whom I've not only shared my life over this time, but also a passion for graduate school education and our students. Dean Josie Tinajero, from whom I learn every day. I've served as her associate dean, and now I'm assisting her in special projects, and it's incredible to see somebody embody what we preach about all the time. And then, of course, to all of those of you who wrote letters of support, those who are here and aren't here. And Mariela, thank you so much for spearheading this. Brenda Rubio, I think, who was part of that, another one of my academic daughters, and I promise you I'm not always this maternalistic. My formidable friends, Dr. Scheurich, Cindy Reed, Betty Merchant, all of you who are here, Gary Crow, it was an honor to serve with you one more EC meeting. To Kala Mortada and Linda Tillman, with whom I've engaged in incredible conversations through the years, I miss your presence. I've left out a lot of names, but there just isn't enough time, and Ann will definitely not give me that award. Thank you, UCA, you've given me so many poignant memories. This one will be indelible. It's not only an award for a job well done, but I think it points to the fact that there is still so much more to do. And Michelle, you have my commitment for continued support, and congratulations on this incredible UCA leadership team comprised of Andrea Rohr, Cindy Reed, and Mark Gooden. We are in very good hands for the next 3 years. Again, thank you very much.
Our next award is one that's kind of special to me because I know the person that this award is named for. It's the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award. And for all of you who know Jay, you know about the qualities that he exhibits. In more than 4 decades of his work in our field, his ability to look for and find people to serve in leadership and scholarship in UCEA and in universities across our country and internationally as well. A particular note is that Jay has an ability to reach across racial, class, and gender and really nurture people. In fact, Malu's already mentioned it, but the diversity that we see in this room today was something and is something that Jay has been working for and certainly can take some credit for as well. So it's a very important award. It's an award of someone who is actively seeking ways to support junior faculty so that they can become associates, so they can become full faculty, and so that they can continue contributing to this field. Presenting the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award is Terah Venzant Chambers.
Good afternoon. They're learning, that's good. So when Mariela was giving her very beautiful introduction of Malu, Jim leaned over and said, "Are you going to cry for me?" I said no. But I do consider it an honor and a privilege to present this award to Jim Scheurich. Jay Scribner was noted, as Ann said, for his unique ability to reach across racial, class, and gender differences in his mentoring and to nurture scholars from underrepresented backgrounds into a profession largely homogeneous in composition. As Dr. Kristen Huggins said in her letter of support, if I had not known prior to reading that quote that it was referring to Dr. Scribner, I would have thought it was meant to describe Dr. Scheurich. This award recognizes a commitment to mentoring and socializing doctoral students, particularly for future roles as university professors. Over Jim's tenure in academe at Texas A&M, the University of Texas, and now Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, he has shepherded dozens of doctoral students through the transition from student to faculty member. Kristen vividly recalled her first formal meeting with Dr. Scheurich because, quote, "it not only changed the course of my career trajectory, but it also set me on a course of being passionate about academic work that focuses on schooling issues that affect those who are often marginalized in K-12 schooling settings." Kristen's first meeting with Jim evolved into a continuing mentoring relationship that she affectionately termed Sundays with Scheurich. Similarly, Dr. Leslie Locke, who also wrote a letter of support, reflected on Jim's instrumental assistance in navigating a tricky problem that she faced. As she said, quote, "Per Jim's caring character, he did not just help me solve my problem and go back to his regular work. He continued to keep in touch with me, sending me the occasional email or just giving me a call to just check in. He proved that he actually cared, and all of this was extraordinary because, after all, I was not even his student. He wasn't even a member of my committee, but he devoted his time, in spite of his many, many commitments, to helping me." This award also recognizes the importance of introducing students, especially from underrepresented groups, to the broader network of scholars at UCEA and beyond. Much earlier than many, Jim recognized that the lack of faculty diversity and educational leadership would stand in the way of our capacity to meet the coming challenges of educational leadership in the 21st century. Accordingly, he became committed to identifying and supporting outstanding students who had both changed the look and research focus of the field. One need only look at his vita to see that many of the students with whom Jim has worked are women and scholars of color and have made critical contributions to research and ed leadership with respect to such issues as race, ethnicity and culture, gender, social class, sexual orientation, and the institutionalized nature of power and privilege. The recipient of this award is noted for helping others navigate academia writ large, and while many would agree that Jim can be stubborn when it comes to a cause to which he is committed and that this trait has not always made him popular, even those who disagree with his politics or his leadership style would not discount the contributions that Jim has made in the area of mentoring graduate students and junior faculty members. Perhaps the best testimony to this success is the large number of outstanding faculty members at various institutions across the country, to whom Jim is directly connected, either by serving as dissertation chair, committee member, or even article co-author, many of whom are in this room today. Their collective success as faculty members illuminates the role Jim has played in providing the support, guidance, and friendship necessary to not only survive, but to thrive in this profession. Related to the importance of providing the necessary guidance for a successful career in academe, the UCEA Scribner Mentoring Award also recognizes the value of mentoring, advising, and supporting junior professors. On this point, I just want to spend a little bit of time. I know that that time is short, but on his impact on my preparation for promotion and tenure. One example, Jim has offered, actually he demands, to see all of my manuscripts before I send them out. And despite the incredibly heavy responsibilities that he shoulders, he always makes room in a schedule to read my manuscripts and send them back all marked up with feedback, but not just on the grammar or mechanics of my writing, but on the meaning of my work. And he demonstrates that he cares about my research nearly as much as I do. However, while I've appreciated his feedback on my writing and his efforts to help me connect to the field, those are not what I appreciate most about his mentoring. What I appreciate most are the fierce disagreements that we've had over the years, and the fact that even though we've disagreed, we're still friends. And after all, he is a white guy doing social justice work, and he doesn't always get it right. But he knows that, and he's open to the criticism. And that, to me, is a rare but critical quality of a good mentor. Jim has received numerous awards, including the UCEA Master Professor Award in 2006. However, he's not received an award in recognition of his mentoring, and this to me is a significant oversight in an otherwise illustrious, highly decorated career. I know that of all the awards and honors and grants that he's received, this will be his proudest achievement. While many of us were devastated to hear that Jim was leaving Texas A&M, I know he will continue his mentoring tradition at IUPUI, and I hope that in some small way this award serves as recognition of the work that he's done at A&M. In closing, I believe Jim meets in both letter and spirit the qualities the Scribner Mentoring Award recipient should embody, and it is truly my honor to present this award to Dr. Scheurich.
Thank you all very much. I got a chance to spend some time with Jay and Alicia Scribner just this past Sunday. He and I had a chance to talk together about the award. It was a really satisfying coincidence that we got to be able to get together before this convention. I don't know if you know this or not, but Jay was one of my mentors at UT Austin, along with Lonnie Wagstaff, Pedro Reyes, and Bill Moore. So first, I want to thank them for mentoring me. More importantly, though, I want to thank all of my students and the young faculty with whom I've gotten to work. They are really the ones who deserve this award, not me. In other words, the best mentoring relationships are two-way, not one-way. It is not like I'm the only one doing this work, doing the work of the relationship. They make it happen just as much or more than I do. Thus, to me, for us to continue to grow and thrive, we must all see mentoring as extremely important, just as important as publishing research and teaching. I would also suggest that we do this mentoring with great kindness, care, compassion, and a radical openness to being critiqued through dialogue by those we mentor. It is also extremely important that we continue to build, as Malou was saying, the diversity of our profession by mentoring women, those of color, those who are LGBT, those who live with disabilities, those who are from all religions, those who are first generation able to get into the university, those who are immigrants, those who live within different home cultures and speak different home languages. This is a hugely diverse country and has always been, though it is still highly inequitable. One of the ways that we can help address this inequity is to continue to broadly diversify our students and our faculty. Finally, I want to thank Terah Venzant Chambers, Kristen Huggins, and Leslie Locke for their generous and caring support by nominating me for this deeply meaningful award. As Terah said, I don't think there's any other award that is more meaningful than to be recognized for mentoring the new generation of scholars. I think that all three of these young women are incredible social justice scholars who will help carry us forward in strong, insightful, creative ways. Thank you all very much.
Our next award is unique because while the previous awards really recognize a legacy of service and the longevity of the person who receives the award in terms of their distinguished career, the Jack A. Culbertson Award is for an outstanding junior professor. And it's in recognition of significant contributions by someone who's in their early career. This award was established in 1982 in honor of UCEA's first full-time executive director, and Jack Culbertson had he was an impressive scholar, and he also took particular interest in supporting those junior professors and seeing that their work became published and that their scholarship became renewed. This award is, in particular, it's for outstanding contributions in innovativeness, originality, generalizability, potential impact, and relationship to UCEA's goals. This year to present the Jack A. Culbertson Award, we have Alan Shoho and Bruce Barnett.
I'm good. And for those of you who were in the plenum this morning, I guarantee this will be a little better than the budget report. Okay? Bruce and I are very proud to have nominated and received the notification that our former colleague, Alex Bowers, was given the Jack Culbertson Award. The Culbertson Award, as Ann mentioned, is to be recognized for early career scholars who reach new heights. And I think that's really emblematic of Alex, as you'll see in a second. It is also appropriate that Alex is receiving this award in the mile-high city of Denver, where I believe Denver is the city that, of all the past UCEA conferences, it's the highest city we've ever been. So I think you'll see it's quite appropriate in a little bit. Alex's scholarship has basically 3 lines of inquiry that captures his scholarly activity: organizational and leadership effects of schools and districts on schooling outcomes, preparation of school leaders, and school facilities and finance. What's really impressive about Alex is if you were to look at his vita, he has almost a 100% conversion rate between his conference presentations and his publications. It's something that's really to be exemplified and also encouraged for all other junior faculty to aspire to. In addition, earlier this part of the year, Alex received the AERA Division A Emerging Scholar Award. So this basically captures it, recognizes what Alex has done there. In large part, the award attests for what Alex's work is doing. And to give you some examples, Alex's work on dropouts is starting to rival the work of some of the biggest contributors in the field like Robert Balfance and Russell Rumberger. His focus on using grades and attendance, which if you think about it, nowadays in the past 15, 20 years, most people have been looking at standardized test scores. But we all know that what do schools use? Grades and attendance. And Alex is really pushing the boundaries to use those as helping us to predict dropouts and student achievement. And his third area of work is really focusing on school bond elections, and what predicts the success and failure of school bonds is cutting edge and should be a required reading for all superintendents and school boards if they want to pass a school bond. And if they don't, they risk the peril of not passing there. We want to ask UCEA if there was a caveat. As you may know, Alex left this past year to go to Teachers College. Doesn't he have to come back to get the report? Come back to UTSA to get the award? Isn't that a requirement? I mean, he has to quit TC, right? Okay, but it's my pleasure to award the Jack Culbertson Award for Early Career Scholar Achievement to Alex Bowers.
Thank you, Alan, Shoho, and Bruce Barnett, not only for your introduction, which you warned me about, but that was pretty good. I like the tall theme was nice. But also for nominating me for the Culbertson Award and for your wonderful friendship and guidance during my years at the University of San Antonio, University of Texas at San Antonio. I'd like to thank UCEA and the awards committee for this award. I would also like to thank the many people who have mentored, advised, and supported my work over the years. The Culbertson Award is given in part as a tribute to the emphasis that Jack Culbertson put on recognizing and supporting the work of junior faculty in educational administration. As I have repeatedly stressed to my PhD advisor, Susan Printy, at Michigan State University, I truly enjoyed my time at Michigan State, working on my dissertation, as she and the rest of the faculty had the wonderful ability to encourage me to pursue some pretty out there ideas, but at the same time make sure that I got to where I needed to go. The same is true for the faculty at the University of Texas at San Antonio, where I started as an assistant professor in 2007. In research terms, individual success has strong context effects. I would not be able to do the work I do without the help and caring support I received at UTSA. From the Dean, Betty Merchant, to Alan and Bruce, Mariela Rodriguez, Betty Murakami, and the rest of the faculty, I owe you a debt of gratitude. You gave me the time, resources, and mentoring to help me find the outlets for my work, listen to some of my weirder ideas, and help me implement many of them. And while I'm now at Teachers College, Columbia University, I cherish the time I spent in San Antonio. While we did get a hurricane recently in New York, so that was a nice reminder of being in Texas, I'm continually reminded of my time at UTSA and my daily work, as you helped make it possible for me to work hard and find ways to be helpful. From the start of my career in educational administration research, so many of you here and throughout the profession gave willingly of your time to talk to me and to help me find my way. I've met and worked with so many good friends and excellent colleagues. I feel blessed by the opportunities at each of the institutions I've attended and by UCEA. Thank you, and thank you for this award.
Helen and Bruce, you really filled a tall order on giving out that award. So it was fun standing up here on stage and in all of my 5'4"dom. The next award that we have is a special award. It's the Paula Silver Case Award. And this award memorializes the life and work of Paula Silver. She was an associate director of UCEA and a president-elect. This award has been named for her because of her significant contributions, in particular in her scholarship, in her advocacy for women, and also for her inspired understanding of praxis. This award is presented each year for the most outstanding case published during the last volume of UCEA's Journal of Cases in Educational Leadership. Presenting the award today is Laura Trujillo-Jenks.
Hello. Richard Fosse, J-Cell's editor, was unable to be here today, so I am here to present the award to Lisa Bass. I just met Lisa over lunch, and during this time, I have learned that Lisa has a passion for teaching, research, and working with her colleagues. And although Lisa and her colleagues, Gregg, Garn, and Lisa Monroe, wrote this article, Lisa is here to accept the award. Again, what I've learned that she, along with her colleagues, wanted to write a case that would help us professors teach educational administration through application-based activities using case studies. Their article, Using J-Cell Case Studies to Meet ELIC Standards, provides tips when using case studies and even provides a chart that shows a list of case studies that align with the NCATE standards. So it is clear that Lisa and her colleagues want to encourage students applying their knowledge, again through case studies and application-based activities. Therefore, it is a pleasure to have Lisa come up here and accept the award on behalf of her and her colleagues.
Thank you, and good afternoon. When I got the email that informed me that I received this award, I was very shocked. Not only, I was just shocked, probably because it wasn't an actual case, but an article that told the importance of using cases. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my own education at Penn State that let me see how valuable case studies can be in your education as ed leadership, especially for those who don't have a lot of field experiences yet. And case studies allow us to go places that, many places in a short amount of time. So when I learned about the Journal of Cases in Ed Leadership, I began to delve in myself as a graduate student to go to places and to see problems and issues that I hadn't encountered yet in my own education or in my own experience. So I just want to thank my professors from Penn State who, again, showed me the value of case studies, introduced me to the J-Cell, and then Gerardo, who was the editor at the time that I became most involved in J-Cell. And also, this is a testament to collaboration and just speaking with peers. The idea for the case or the article came as a result of talking and seeing how it could be more useful, how J-Cell could be more useful for professors. And then I learned that at the University of Oklahoma, there was a chart that was begun just for us to help us use the cases. And I spoke with Gregg, who worked with Lisa, and we put the article together. So it wasn't just me, but I am here to accept the award on behalf of me and my colleagues. So thank you, and Michelle Young as well. That can't be remiss if I didn't mention her. And also Linda Tillman and all of those who've made a contribution to my life. Thank you.
Our final award was already presented at AERA, but it will be rededicated here. It's the award for Best Educational Administration Quarterly Paper, and the award will be presented by Michelle Young.
Thanks, Anne, and good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that was weak. Good afternoon, yes. For almost 50 years, we're almost coming up on EAQ's 50th anniversary, but for almost 50 years, EAQ has published some of the highest quality research in educational leadership and administration, and among the most cited articles as well. And this year's winner has already been highly cited. It was published in January in a special issue that was co-edited by Terry Orr and Diana Pounder, which was focused on the impact of leadership preparation. The article, which won the James Davis Award, is School Leadership Policy Trends and Developments, Policy Expediency or Policy Excellence. And it was written by Virginia Roach, L. Wes Smith, and James Boutin. And I'd highly recommend this article. A number of people I've heard in the corridors and during the plenum meeting today have been talking about the impact of education policy. And this article talks directly about the institutional isomorphism that's happening within the United States, particularly within state departments of education, where they're doing a lot of policy borrowing. And the policy borrowing they use as a form of legitimacy to say, well, we're doing this because Oklahoma did this, and Oklahoma did this because Delaware did this. So they come to the conclusion that this trend is not going to be ending anytime soon, and they also talk about the impact of this is a real stifling of innovation and also a real disconnect and a misfit in terms of the needs of the states and what's happening at the state level. I highly recommend the article. It's excellent. They provide a number of research-informed suggestions for those who are in positions who can influence policy. And today, I'm announcing it. We did present it, as Anne mentioned, at the Division A meeting last spring at AERA. Linda Skurla her plane is not here yet, so she asked me if I would announce this for her. I also want to take this moment just to make an announcement about the transition of EAQ. As you know, for a number of years, Linda Skurla and her editorial team at Texas A&M, for the last 5 years actually, have been providing the editorial home for EAQ. And recently, we had an RFP for the next set of editors for EAQ. And I'm happy to announce to all of you that EAQ will be transitioning soon to the University of Connecticut. And Casey Cobb is here somewhere in the back. Casey, why don't you stand up? Casey's here with two of his colleagues, Morgan Donaldson and Richard Gonzalez, who will be part of the editorial team. So the transition between Texas A&M and Linda and her team will occur over the next 6 months to Casey and his team. This is a tremendous service to the field. In fact, one of our colleagues was just saying how she wanted to make sure she retired without ever having edited a journal, because it is such tremendous work, but it's so important too. And so those of you like Linda and her colleagues at Texas A&M and Casey and his colleagues as well, we certainly appreciate you, and we wouldn't be able to do the good work we are doing without you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you everyone for attending today's luncheon. Before we finish today, something that I really wanted to just have everyone think about for a moment is the importance of having an awards luncheon, the importance of coming together and really recognizing the contributions of our colleagues, and what that says to our colleagues and what it says about us as a field as well, that we can identify some people who've done some extraordinary work that represents all of us. And it's also an area that we can aspire to in our own work is to think about, what are you doing for mentoring? What are you doing in your teaching? What are you doing right now in terms of helping others convert, as Alan said, helping students convert their papers, and junior faculty converting papers to publications. And so really taking away from today how all of us can be kind of lifted by this. Another thing that I wanted to talk with you about, and just kind of bring to the mindfulness of the group, is that the awards luncheon is so much more than today. This begins months and months ago when a call goes out asking people to nominate. And that takes someone to step up and say, oh, I'm going to take this on and I'm going to nominate one of my colleagues. And it also takes that person marshaling, and we know how this is in higher ed. You have to go around and look for letters of support, and whereas people are very meaningful and very wanting to join in that process, you have to sometimes herd and gather and wrangle those letters of support to make sure that you can put together a great nomination packet. Once all of that is submitted, we still have another cycle that goes through with a nomination selection committee of just dedicated people who come in and read through those packets and have the very tough task of selecting among just a collection of champions who is going to be the recipient for this year's award. So at this time, I'd like to invite you, if you served on a nomination selection committee, if you were a nominator, if you submitted a letter of nomination support, would you please stand for a moment? Thank you. You're the people who are going to keep this going. And it's never too early to start thinking about who you might be nominating for next year. Those calls will be going out, and we really do appreciate having this opportunity to recognize our colleagues in our field. Also, everyone else, I think, has already said this, but the extraordinary work of UCEA and, of course, Michelle Young and her team in putting this together, and for this great conference, which is opening. So thank you very much for attending today's luncheon.